Hi, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of Malice in the Mitten. I am your host, Tracy Preston, along with my bestie, Christine Mulligan. Hey, Christine.
Hey, Trace. How's it going? How's everybody out there listening to us? It's another conversation. It's another day. What are we doing? What are we talking about? What do you got for me, Trace?
All right, well, today's story is going to leave you and our listeners looking at your home in a different light. I mean, how often do you go up into your attic?
Never.
I know.
Never. I live in Florida. The attic is like hot as Hades.
Yeah. Well, is there a part of your home that you never go into, like a spare bedroom, a crawl space, or basement?
Yeah, all of the above.
Yeah.
I don't have a basement or a crawl space. I live in Florida. But yeah, there's lots of places in my home that you go in maybe once every other week to make sure the dust is not piling high.
Right. Well, I'll bet that after you hear this story, you may want to go in and do a thorough once-over. Maybe make it a weekly routine.
Check the nooks and crannies.
Check the nooks and crannies. With that being said, let's get into it. This is Season 6, Episode 1, Phrogging. A man's home is his castle is a phrase that comes from English law. It means your home is a place of safety, security, privacy. A sanctuary where you have the right to feel free from harm. For most of us, this is a given. We get up in the morning, do what we need to do, go about our day, and return home at night. When we get home, we may eat, watch TV, relax with the family or friends. We don't worry about creeps in the closet or assholes in the attic. We believe that the strange noise from upstairs is the house settling. The boxes that fell in the basement were knocked down by the cat. The noise under the floorboards or in the walls are mice running around. We forgot that we ate that last slice of pie. Or did we? Phrogging is similar to squatting, only the frogger is a person secretly living in an occupied home with its residents in a rarely used space. It could be the attic, a basement, a crawl space, any place the homeowner doesn't go into regularly. While the term is relatively new, there are many recorded instances over the past 100 years. One of the best known cases is of, quote, the Denver Spider-Man of 1941 in Denver, Colorado. Theodore Edward Coneys lived in the attic crawl space of an elderly couple, Philip Peters and his wife Helen, for 5 weeks, coming out of his hiding spot to steal food when they were gone or late at night when they were asleep. He was caught while sneaking food one night by Philip in October of 1941. He killed Phillips in the ensuing scuffle and returned to his attic crawl space where he stayed until July of 1942, when he was finally caught. Helen had been in the hospital at the time of his murder, and when she returned to the house, she and her housekeeper thought they had ghosts when they heard him moving around. Eventually it got so bad that the nurse would quit and Helen would move out. Neighbors would report strange things going on in the vacant home, but police would arrive too late. After placing the home under surveillance, they would finally see him in the windows and capture Coneys as he escaped back to his attic home. Coneys would be charged and convicted of murder and died in the state penitentiary in 1967 at the age of 84.
Wait a minute. So this guy got murdered in his home while his wife was in the hospital, and they didn't search the house? They didn't find him then? Like, I'm super confused.
No, because this cat hiked it right back up into the attic. I mean, think about it. I don't know if I've ever seen a police investigation like on like a crime show where they go in the attic. Have you?
I guess not. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Wonky as shit. An even more bizarre case happened in Illinois and California in the early 1900s. Dolly Osterek would marry the owner of the factory she worked at when she was only 17 years old. Her husband was older than her and known to be unfriendly and cranky. She was vivacious, outgoing, and horny as hell. After the marriage, while her husband Fred was at work, she would invite lovers into the house. This would be her norm until 1913, at the age of 33, when she met 17-year-old Otto Stanhuber. To prevent the neighbors from talking, she made a, quote, home for him in the attic crawl space over the bedroom she shared with her husband. By day, he would clean the house and work on a book he was writing and service her needs, describing himself as her sex slave. He said he would be called upon for duty up to 8 times a day. Holy shit.
Good Lord.
That's a lot.
Good Lord.
In 1918, Dolly and Fred would move to Los Angeles. Dolly only agreed to move if she could pick the new house. Of course, she chose one with an attic, and Otto was installed there before they moved in. In 1922, overhearing an argument between the couple, Otto escaped his attic room and shot Fred. Dolly and Otto would stage the scene to look like a burglary, and Otto would return to his attic. The police believed Dolly was involved, but they couldn't prove it, and they never found Otto's hiding spot. Otto would continue to live in her attic for, get this, another 8 years.
Wow. Dolly was taking good care of him.
Isn't that bonkers?
That's crazy.
Yeah. In 1930, Dolly began an affair with her attorney and gave him items that had supposedly been taken at the time of Fred's murder. She would also give him the murder weapon. Getting suspicious, he would eventually go to the police. Dolly was arrested, and while in jail, she asked the attorney to go to her house and let her, quote, half-brother out of the attic. Otto would confess to the murder to the attorney. He was convicted of manslaughter, but since the statute of limitations had run out, he was set free. He was good to go back to the attic, I guess. Dolly's trial ended in a hung jury, and she would be acquitted in 1936. Otto would be known as, quote, the Batman.
What's with the theme of these people being, like, superhero?
I don't know.
Tagline. Like, what is that about?
I'm not certain. It's weird, right? We got the Batman, we got Spider-Man. It's weird.
Yeah, those are supposed to be good guys. These are bad guys.
Yeah,
There's a cross somewhere.
yeah, something's not right here with the naming convention.
Yeah.
All right, so the Hinterkaifeck murders in Germany in 1922 are still unsolved, but it is believed someone lived in their attic for weeks before killing the entire family of 6 with an axe. It is also believed the killer lived for up to 3 days with the dead bodies, caring for the house and animals, before leaving for parts unknown. Prior to the murders, a maid had reported hearing noises in the attic, which led to her quitting and quite possibly saving her life. Her replacement was not so lucky. The father, Andreas, would tell his neighbors about seeing strange footprints in the snow leading to the house from the woods, but not away from the house in the days before the killing. Killed in the attack would be the father, Andreas, his wife, Kazia, their widowed daughter, Victoria, her 2 young children, Kazia, which is named after her grandmother, and Joseph, and the new maid, Maria. A year after the murders, the house was torn down, and in the attic space, a blood-covered axe was discovered, and a penknife was found in the barn. In Japan, in 2008, a man noticed that food was going missing in his home, but his house was always locked. Confused as to where the food could be going, with the house always being locked, he installed cameras in his kitchen. One day while out, he received a notification of movement in his home. Alerting the police that he thought he had a burglar, police arrived only to find the house locked tight. A thorough search of the home revealed a 58-year-old homeless woman living on a top shelf in a closet. The woman had even installed a mattress on the shelf for sleeping on and had been taking showers while he was gone. She had been living there, forget this, about a year, unnoticed, and had entered one day when he left the home unlocked. The one day he leaves his door unlocked. That's nuts.
Dogs would never allow somebody to be creeping around your house without freaking out. This is all one big advertisement for why you should have a dog.
Exactly. So I'm not feeling so bad about my 3 bumpus sounds anymore.
Right?
Yeah, you and I both have that covered. We've got dogs aplenty.
Too many pounds of dogs. They wouldn't let any humans be creeping around in any corners.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah.
All right, so closer to home here in the Mitten, in April of 2024, a homeless woman was found living in a sign for a family fare grocery store in Midland. She had outfitted the area with a floor, a Keurig coffee maker, a stocked pantry, a mini desk with computer, and even a houseplant. The space in the sign was only 10 feet by 15 feet and 8 feet tall at its tallest point. Workmen on the roof discovered an extension cord leading into the sign and followed it to her hidey hole home. Family Fare would go on to donate $10,000 to a local homeless shelter to try and help with the homeless situation. While the woman left with no fuss, that isn't always the case. In January of 2025, Ashley Strong woke up early to use the bathroom in her Jackson, Michigan home. Waking about 6 a.m. and walking through her house, she noticed her attic access door in the ceiling was hanging down. Thinking that her boyfriend or son may have gone up there, she pulled the access door down the rest of the way and opened up the ladder. Calling up to her boyfriend, she was startled when a stranger responded. Peering up into the attic, she could see a man back to her in a hoodie. As he reached back into his waistband, possibly for a gun, she quickly went back down the ladder, slamming the access door closed behind her, and she screamed for her daughter to run. Calling the police, she waited outside for them to arrive. The unidentified man was arrested and charged with home invasion and assaulting a police officer. But the worst case of phrogging in Michigan happened to Sherry Lovell in Almont. Almont is a town in Lapeer County with a small population of about 2,800 people. Sherry had custody of and was raising her 3 grandchildren alone. Life seemed perfect for the divorced grandmother. Even though she was essentially a single mother, she had a good job, a little bit of money in the bank, her grandkids, a busy and active life. Sherry was a postal worker. She had had a long day at work and she just wanted to kick back with a canned vodka cocktail and unwind when she got home. Going to the fridge, there wasn't the canned vodka cocktail chilling as she thought there would be. Thinking maybe she had drank it a different day or just forgotten that she had, she went on with her night. But as time went on, she noticed other things going missing. A full can of air freshener, a box of cereal, leftovers, and other miscellaneous food items. Thinking the grandkids were up to their tricks, she confronted them every time. And every time, they denied it. Frustrated, she continued to blame the grandkids. And they continued to deny taking anything. And then the day of February 20th, 2019 happened. Changing clothes in her bedroom one night, she felt something cold and hard press against her neck. Turning quickly, she saw a gun, and on the other end of the gun was her ex-husband. Forced into the home's crawl space on her hands and knees by her ex, she would find all her missing items there. Everything she thought the children had taken was there. Even the can of air freshener. Her ex-husband had been using it to cover his smell. He had been in there for weeks. He would demand that she move all her money from her bank accounts into his bank account. At gunpoint, he would force her into her own truck's passenger seat and drive her toward the bank in Detroit. However, the truck needed gas, and when he got out to pay for the gas and pump it, he left the keys in the truck. Seeing her opportunity, she slid over into the driver's seat and took off. She drove to her best friend's home where she called the police. Her ex-husband would be arrested and charged with 16 felony counts. As of 2022, he was awaiting trial. The Lifetime series called Phrogging, Hide Her in My House would cover Sherry's story. So how can you tell if you have a frogger? Take note if you hear strange sounds. Every home has normal sounds, of course, but if the sounds change, pay attention. If you hear more than the normal number of noises, day or night, call the police to get your home checked out. If you think you are losing your mind because things are going missing or are moved from where you thought you left them, take note. Are your pets acting strangely? Dogs and cats often have the ability to sense things we can't. Are they repeatedly staring at a certain spot or avoiding one? Are they acting oddly? Pay attention, especially if it seems to be in the lesser used areas of your abode. Basically, if anything seems off from your normal routine, get it checked out. Better to be seen as paranoid than to be sharing your home with a stranger that may be dangerous. You know your home better than anyone else. To keep yourself safe, lock your doors and windows, especially when you're not home. Invest in good locks and security cameras. And if you have a place you don't visit often, such as a lake or hunting cabin, invest in security cameras. If you can't afford cameras, have a neighbor you trust keep an eye out for you. This shit gives me the goosebumps.
Yeah, it's creepy, but I guess very plausible, especially if you have attics or basements that you don't ever go in.
Mm-hmm.
That one woman was living in a damn sign. I mean, if you're homeless or if you're like this ex-husband and just waiting for your opportunity, he was a real piece of work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's crazy. But yeah. Check the nooks and crannies.
Check your nooks and crannies. I know after and this story was written and researched by Rebecca Hiers. I love it, but she definitely gave me the goosebumps. I'm like, I got a lot of space. We actually have in our basement a cistern, right? Because this is a very old home. And I can tell you right now, I never go over there unless it's, holiday time and I got to get some holiday stuff because, the cistern, the end of it was cut off and so there's shelves in there. I never go in there. And I certainly never go up in the attic. But if anybody wants to hide in my attic, they're going to freeze to death. That's what I got to say. They would die of heat exhaustion in yours and freeze in mine.
Yeah, they'd be like smoked meat if they were trying to live in my attic.
Yeah, you'd be like, hey, Nina, you making barbecue tonight?
Right?
No, that's not me. Crazy story. So now that you won't sleep tonight, if you found this episode interesting and are listening on YouTube, please listen on YouTube and please give this episode a like and a share and share it with your friends Because why should you be the only one awake? If you have experienced frogging, tell us of your experience in the comments section below. Thanks for listening. So have a great week, everyone, and we will see you on Wednesday for Round Robin.
Bye.
Bye.
Kids